Welcome to the In Love with PMDD Podcast. I am your host, Rose, your PMDD Relationship Expert. I have personally been suffering with PMDD for over 15 years and spent so much time desperately trying to navigate my intimate relationships, going from breakup to breakup, thinking that everyone else was the problem. I am now married to an amazing PMDD partner thanks to the PMDD specific relationship tools that I have developed over the years, and now I am here to share them with you. Because I know that there is not much research available to PMDD partners, I am now dedicating my doctorate practice specifically for PMDD relationships. I am a traumatology doctoral candidate, and each week I will be providing PMDD partners with my signature PMDD Trauma Transformational Tools on how to effectively navigate an intimate relationship while having PMDD, so that you can avoid the patterns of breaking up with your partner every single month, and you can finally have the supportive relationship that we all desire and deserve. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Now let's get into your weekly dose of PMDD relationship tools. We got this. Today, we are going to be talking about something that is really going to help you with your PMDD, and that is how to mute your PMDD symptoms and avoid damaging your relationship. So this is something that I subconsciously have done over the years, and I had my partner actually point it out to me. And he used to say that when PMDD comes, you go into something called autopilot. And what autopilot means is I'm there doing all the things, but I'm not actually as present, meaning my true personality is not being shown. And when I started to do my doctorate work, I learned that this is disassociation. And this is very common when you've experienced trauma, if you're currently experiencing trauma, or if you've experienced trauma in the past and you're starting to have memories of that trauma, re-traumatization, then you start to get in this disassociation mode. And this is actually how you can mute your symptoms in a good way. So I'm going to give you an example of how I mute my symptoms every single month, and ways that you can actually do it yourself in your own personal life to avoid having those negative emotions that cause you to allow PMDD rage to take over with your partner, or having those negative emotions to make you want to pull away from your partner, or having those negative emotions that causes you to have all of these intrusive thoughts, and you're starting to overthink because you're on full blast with the anxiety and the thoughts and all of the things. So the way that I do disassociation, so it's basically you're replacing the negative emotions, the negative experience, the trauma that you go through during PMDD, and you're disconnecting from that. You're disassociating yourself from that. And the way that I inadvertently began to do this over the years is through my morning routine. And it wasn't until I would say about 4 years ago that I began putting my phone on do not disturb when I started my morning routine, because there was a lot of times where I started to do my morning routine and then I would get a call, I would get a text message, and it would interrupt me, and it would almost put me on high alert, where I would feel even more irritated, more distressed, more depressed, more anxious, because I was doing the morning routine to get rid of all those negative emotions. But when you're constantly interrupted, when you're trying to go through that process of getting everything out, I don't know if you've ever been there where you're like, you know what, I'm going to meditate, or I'm going to binge watch Netflix. And then you get a text and you get some kind of alert, and it kind of sets you off because you're like, oh, I can't even have a moment for myself. And so what I ended up doing was putting my phone on do not disturb, and I began integrating headphones. So headphones is a way to block out noise. I had to do it for my job a couple of times. And then I was like, you know what? I can actually use this with blocking out my environment and feeling like, okay, it's just me. I can just focus on this one task, and it's less overwhelming because I feel like when you're in PMDD, everything is triggering you. Like the outside is triggering you, the noise is triggering you with your misophonia, your partner even asking you the simplest things. And you're just like, I can't deal with this right now. Like, I just want to have a moment to regulate my emotions, to regulate myself. And for me, regulating my emotions wasn't my main focus. I just wanted to get to a point of disassociating from all of the negativity. So the first thing you do is you acknowledge. And if you follow me on Instagram at In Love with PMDD, you know, I acknowledge when I wake up every single symptom that I have, and I actually list it out. So that's my morning routine, is not denying my emotions and how I feel. I'm listing them out, and then I'm choosing how I want to feel after that. So I may list out brain fog, or some days fatigue. This last cycle of fatigue has been so crazy. Like, fatigue has been like my biggest symptom for this last month. And so every single day I've noticed, okay, I have for 14 days of PMDD, and every single day I've listed one of my symptoms of fatigue. So that's clearly been a thing for me. But disassociation is not avoiding the reality. So I just want to make that clear. I'm going to say that again. Disassociation from the trauma and the negative emotions that you have is not avoiding reality. It is a way for you to compartmentalize, okay, the trauma's over here, and I have the choice to give myself some relief so that I can survive the trauma. So when we go through trauma for a long period of time, that like we do in PMDD, it's 14 days. So if you think about a runner, I'm a sprinter. I love to sprint. Like, I used to run track in high school. I can go short periods of time and I can run really fast. And then after that, I get tired. There's long distance runners where they can go like not days. They can go minutes and minutes and minutes of clearly keeping the same pace, running the same race. And they've trained their body to not get exhausted. But for me, PMDD was too exhausting for me to say, you know what, I'm going to be able to bear all of these symptoms for a full 14 days. And then that's going to be my reality. I was like, this is not sustainable for a long period of time. So what my body and my mind started to do was to create a routine that I could disassociate myself from my symptoms to give myself a break. Right? Because you want to give yourself a chance to recover, a chance to not think about all of those negative things, not feel all those negative emotions. Because it's just like a race. When you get to the point and you take a break, you take a sip of water, like you rejuvenate yourself, and then you go back in the game. So what I'm saying is, you need to give yourself an opportunity to disassociate, to restore yourself, because PMDD is for days and days at a time. And so when I looked at the science of it, I'm like, you know what? This is actually a thing that individuals go through when they've experienced trauma. And it's the brain's defense mode. So it's a defense mechanism for the brain to say, okay, I know that you're not going to be able to endure this trauma for this long period of time. So I'm going to give you a defense mechanism, a coping mechanism, to give you some sort of break with dealing with all of the symptoms. And disassociation is something that we all do. Sometimes it's conscious. For me, it's conscious at this point. And then for a lot of people, it's subconscious. So when I go into my morning routine, I'm going to break it down because I've been talking about it a lot on my stories, because I've been sharing more of my morning routine to kind of give you insight into what I go through when I wake up every day with these PMDD symptoms, because I don't want you to think I wake up and I'm just fully alert, I have these symptoms, and then I'm able to just go into the world. That's a lie. Okay, so when I first wake up, my phone is on Do Not Disturb. If you have an Apple phone, Android phone, I'm pretty sure you can actually go into your general settings. You can go into focus mode for Apple at least, and you can set times that your phone is on Do Not Disturb. So for me, it's from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. So a lot of times I need to be at work at about 8 a.m. Sometimes it's 7:30. And then at night, sometimes I do an evening routine to where I don't want to be disturbed. So I kind of set those as my core hours, as saying these are my do not disturb hours. I'm not available for, sorry, I have sinuses. I'm not available for engaging because I need this time to just be for me. And I don't just put my phone on do not disturb and my family or friends don't know about it. I literally tell them, and they've kind of been conditioned and trained to be like, oh, if I try to call her or whatever, her phone is on do not disturb. So I want to preface that when you put your phone on do not disturb, that doesn't mean you don't see messages. It doesn't mean that you don't see everything coming in, but you're not getting that alert. And I know that when you're in PMDD and you're already on high alert and you have that anxiety, sometimes getting all of those ding, ding, dings, it's like additional pressure. Like, I have to respond to this text message. This person called me. I have to call them back. And that used to be a really big thing for me that caused a lot of my anxiety because I constantly felt like I had so many demands on me that I didn't even get a chance to just relax and take a break from it when I was already overwhelmed from doing the simplest things like getting up and brushing my teeth. I didn't want to keep getting pings from my cell phone about, oh, you have a message here, you have a message here. So a way for me to avoid that was, my first step was putting my phone on do not disturb. And at first I used to do it sporadically. I used to wait till it was in a reactive mode. So I would wait till I got a lot of messages. And then out of frustration, I would be like, oh, I'm putting my phone on do not disturb. I'm disconnecting. And I noticed that reactive mode didn't really serve me because it was still giving me more anxiety because it let me get to that point that I was completely overwhelmed. And then I turned my phone off. So by going behind the scenes and saying, you know what, I know that I need this time in the morning, so I'm already going to put my phone on do not disturb. So this is one of the tricks of muting your PMDD symptoms, because if you notice that you're getting more anxiety from taking more in first thing in the morning, this is a way. And so for me, it's mornings. For you, it could be evenings. For you, it could be afternoons on your lunch breaks. Whenever you know that you need that time to yourself, don't feel guilty about putting your phone on do not disturb. That was my first thing when I decided to do this. When I decided to disassociate myself by putting my phone on do not disturb, I immediately felt guilt because I'm like, no, I need to be there for this person. I need to be there for this person. And what I was doing by being there for that person is I was neglecting being there for myself. And so I had to really think about, am I willing to sacrifice myself so that I can make myself available to the other person? So earlier in my relationship with my PMDD partner, I used to do that. I knew that my partner was a very morning person. So I'm more of a night owl. Like I do my morning routine, but I'm really on autopilot. I'm not there to interact. I'm not very talkative in the morning, but my partner is, because he goes to sleep really early. So if he goes to sleep, my partner goes to sleep probably at about 8 to 8:30. He's like done, like lights out. Well, that's why we do day dates, because by 8 p.m. he's done. But again, he's in the Marine Corps. He wakes up 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning and goes to work out and starts his day. So if you think about it, by the time you get to 8 o'clock p.m., like you're done, you're exhausted. And so for me, that's my time more in the evenings. I'm really like, I'm more alert. I'm more, I'm ready to interact. So earlier when we were dating and then when we got married, I tried to accommodate his schedule by being really available for him at like first thing in the morning, and it didn't serve me. So what that made me end up doing is, number one, I had underlying resentment because I felt like, man, this is a time where I'm normally not talking. I normally want time for myself, and I'm giving that to you. I'm giving it to you when I'm in a place where I don't even have it for myself. So that's the first thing that I did. And then the second thing was I began to think about, okay, well, when I actually interacted with him, was I presently there? Was I positive? Was I my normal self? And the answer was no. Like, it actually did a lot of damage for me to alter my interaction with him and make it to seem like I'm going to be there for you fully in the morning. And be there for you at the time where you're most alert. But then when we interacted, I was very cold. I was very distant because I hadn't done the things that it took to fill my cup up. So I was trying to fill his cup when my cup was completely empty, completely dry. And if I had anything left in it, I was like, oh, I'll give it to you. But over time, that's not sustainable. Right. So I began to get really resentful because I'm like, I can't even have my mornings to myself because I'm giving to my partner. So you want to make sure that when you're pouring into your PMDD partner, that you're doing it from a place of you're comfortable doing it. It's a good thing that you're doing it, not that you're depleted and you're giving them the last little drops of you. And I know that sometimes if you don't strategically do this, that when your partner needs something is when they need something. So you feel the need to forget how you feel, forget what you need, and just go straight into pouring into them. But I'm trying to tell you that when you do that and you neglect yourself, you're going to end up resenting your PMDD partner. So setting clear boundaries on when you're available for your PMDD partner is not something that you should feel guilty about. And a big part of that for me was disassociating with my PMDD partner during my morning routine. I disassociated from my PMDD symptoms. I disassociated from my partner. I disassociated from everything. And I remember in the beginning, I used to so the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning and I send the devotional to my partner, then I have my phone on do not disturb, is I go straight into my morning routine. And that consists of doing my workout. So I used to have my workout where it would show up big on my TV screen because I go through workouts that you can stream from home because I used to go to the gym for 2 hours a day, mornings or evenings, and now I don't have the time. Like, it takes too much energy for me to drive to the gym, check in from the gym, put my stuff away, and then I have to shower at the gym, or then I get in the car. Like, that whole process for me made my morning routine seem so overwhelming that I said, you know what, I'm not even going to do that. I'm just going to work out from home. And I started doing that. I believe it was 2020 when we got into quarantine really heavy and we couldn't go to the gym. And I was like, you know what, this is so much better for me. I just get up, I go downstairs. So over the years, I've just completely converted to at-home workouts. So when I go to do the workout, I first of all, my partner knows that my phone is on do not disturb from these particular hours. So I release the guilt from that, right? So I feel like a lot of times when you spontaneously put your phone on do not disturb, then you start to feel guilty about it because you haven't communicated with your partner that you're about to put your phone on do not disturb, so you feel guilty about it. And I believe that you should have this prior conversation with your partner and say, you know what, these are my core hours that I need for me. So I take 2 hours first thing in the morning. It doesn't matter, even on the weekends when I wake up, if I wake up late, like today, I woke up super late because I was binging a Netflix series that was so good. I haven't gotten into Bridgerton yet, but the series that I watched was so good. And I ended up watching it. I believe it's like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So I slept into like noon, 1 o'clock. But my partner knows as soon as I wake up, it takes about a good 2 hours, my first 2 hours of the day. So I say morning routine, but I really just mean the first 2 hours of the day. For you, it could be 1 hour. For some of my clients, it's only 30 minutes. It just depends on what you need in order to restore yourself. For me, if I could choose, it would be 2 hours. Well, I would say like 90 minutes. But during the week, when I work 12-hour shifts and I have a really busy week, like I don't have 2 hours, I maybe have 1 hour. So during the week, I would say I give myself 1 hour. During the weekends, I give myself 2 hours. And that doesn't mean that I'm working out for 2 hours, but that could include, like on the weekends when I have time, I like to get up. I like to take my all natural pre-workout, and then after that, check in with my daughter, walk my dog a little bit, and then I'll start my workout, which my workouts are never longer than an hour. So I may do 2 30-minute workouts. and they're normally not the same. So I may do like today I did a weightlifting workout and a bar workout. And then after I did that, I always end my workouts with like 10 minutes of yoga and meditation. I'm more of a moving meditation kind of person. Like I don't just like to sit still. I don't think that serves me. So I'll either do a walking meditation, which means I'll go out and walk my dog again, or I'll just stretch while I'm listening to the meditation in my ear. Headphones have been really big for me. So I always keep my headphones on because I don't even like to hear outside noises when I'm in that morning routine time. Like I don't want to hear someone asking me for anything. This is just my time. So when I'm doing this morning routine and I really get into that mode of it's just me, like it's so therapeutic in that whatever comes out, it's fine. So there's been times that I've been doing my morning routine, like working out, and I've cried, I've been sad, I've been happy. Like sometimes I'll mute my actual trainer. So I'm feeling in a really good mood and I'm not in PMDD, or I want to be in a good mood where I need a lot of energy. I will mute my actual trainer that I have for my at-home workout and put on some good music that I love. I love Afro beats. I love dance music. Like EDM is my jam. But like whatever your thing is, go ahead and put that in your headphones. You can still look at the workout and then do all the moves, but you don't necessarily have to listen to the trainer. I feel like so many times we try to get boxed in the specific way on doing things, but I literally customize it. Some days I need to hear the trainer because I'm so much in that disassociation mode that I want someone to tell me what to do. I want somebody to tell me to lunge. I want somebody to tell me to do the next move. And then in other days, I just want to listen to music and move my body and look at the screen and just have a guide. So that's something that I utilize. That's a tool that I utilize when I'm disassociating during my morning routine, when I'm muting my symptoms. And honestly, after I've checked in and said, okay, this is how I'm feeling, when I'm in that hour that I'm working out, I don't feel my symptoms. I do not feel my symptoms. I feel like I'm in that moment where I'm just separating myself from my body and everything that it was feeling. And I'm just moving and flowing. And it's almost like being in PMDD, but going back to my normal self. And it feels really good. Like even if I'm challenging myself and something is really, really hard, I still feel like whatever physical activity that I'm doing within my workout is way less than PMDD itself. So I'm so comfortable with doing it. I'm like, oh, okay, that lunge felt a certain way or that deadlift felt a certain way. That's fine. But I feel completely good after that. And then the endorphins that I get post-workout is amazing. Like my mood is uplifted. I don't have any more fatigue because I get all of that energy. And then right after that, I go straight into taking a nice, hot, steamy shower. And for me, I love, love, love taking hot showers. I know my partner likes more lukewarm and cold, so I have to like switch the water when we go. Like if it's like the shower's on and I'm finished showering, and then I'm like, you want me to leave the water on? And they're like, yeah. And then I leave it on, and I hear the like that's so hot. I'm like, oh, that's actually how I like it. It's something about being in PMDD and just sweating everything out and just feeling like you're letting things go, you're releasing things. Like it's very therapeutic for me. And I'll put on like baby oil. I don't know if you know this. If you put on baby oil after you get out of a steamy shower, your pores are open. So it makes your skin more moisturized. I have essential oils. I have all of the things going. So after I finish taking that shower, I listen to motivational speaking while I'm in the shower because my mind is very alert. Or I have a business coach that I do for my business, and I'll listen to her podcast while I'm in the shower because my mind is most alert when I'm post workout. And then when I get out of the shower and I get dressed, then I can talk to my partner. Then my phone goes off of do not disturb, and I'm feeling ready. I'm feeling ready for the day. I'm feeling ready to talk to my partner. I'm feeling ready to engage with my child, my dog, like all of the things that I turned off when I disassociated, I'm ready for. So when I say that you can mute your PMDD symptoms, it's not like an all-day thing. It's not like you do it all the time, but this is a tool that you can use to kind of escape for a little bit and do a routine that works for you. So mine is working out because it just really gets me out of my head, into my body, focused on doing something, and then I feel really proud of myself. So even if I spend the rest of the day binge watching Netflix, eating whatever I want, like it doesn't matter to me because I've already proven that I could do something. So the first thing I'm going to do is give you some examples of understanding whether you disassociate, whether this is something that you subconsciously do. So if you think about it, the first thing is amnesia. If you've ever been in PMDD and you can't recall parts of a time period where you just said, I know I did this, I know I went here, I know I did it, but I just can't remember. So that's a sign of you disassociating for it. And it could be for a short period of time, or it could be a long period of time. So the next thing is depersonalization, meaning you're feeling detached from yourself, meaning parts of your body and your emotions, like you're on autopilot and robotic. And this is my most common one for me because I have a very busy schedule and I'll get up in the morning and instead of like my partner will be like, oh, good morning, how are you feeling? And I'm just like, I don't know. Like I can't even tell you how I'm feeling because I'm in that mode of depersonalization. I'm disassociating so that I can get all the things done. And that's been my coping mechanism. And I know a lot of people have been like, how have you been in the military for 19 years and you're getting your doctorate and you're doing all these things? This is because I mute my symptoms to get the things done. But when I feel like I don't do it for the whole day. I don't do it for the whole 14 days. That's not sustainable because I'm not into avoiding my symptoms. I'm into muting them when I need to get things done. So another thing is derealization, and that is feeling detached from your surroundings and people who were once familiar. It's like when the world looks different from you. It's not real. This normally happens for me day 7, or actually day 7 and day 1. Like when I do the initial shift into PMDD, everything starts to look really, really different. And I go to that derealization thing where I'm just trying to figure out the world. But it's my brain's coping mechanism to say, okay, we're going into this new territory that we're not familiar with, even though we are, because we do it every month. But it's a very big shift. So if you think of your personality when you're not in PMDD and you think of your personality when you're in PMDD, there's a big gap there. So when you disassociate, you're just regulating yourself to kind of figure out your new bearings. How are we going to do with this cycle? Like it's that time period where you say, okay, what are the symptoms that I'm feeling? Because they're different every month. So you say, how am I going to navigate this? So you go into that period of derealization to where you're just trying to figure things out. And for some of my clients, it takes like a good 1 to 2 days where you're just in that period during when PMDD has just come on, or when PMDD is getting more like intense and you're just in that derealization. Like your partner may ask you or somebody may ask you, how are you feeling? And you just can't really describe it. You can't really say because you're still trying to get your bearings. And then the next one is brain fog, right? This is when you're feeling uncertain, you're feeling puzzled about who you are. You're like, is the real me the me that's not in PMDD, or is the real me the person that's in PMDD? So I have a lot of clients that have this identity confusion when they have conflicts with their partner. And they're like, am I having this conflict with my partner because this is a conflict that we really have? Or is it just because I'm in PMDD and now it's all of a sudden bothering me? So this is the common thing that your brain, your body is doing because you're shifting in and out of one personality to the other one, and you're not sure of which one is actually true, which one is actually you. So you're in that time frame of just figuring that out. And then the next and final one to find out if you disassociate is identity alterations. So this is changes in your personality behavior. So if you're normally like a really happy, bubbly person, and then all of a sudden you're really withdrawn and you're judgy, you're judgmental, you're standoffish, this is you disassociating because you're separating. You're in it now. I feel like this is inadvertently done during PMDD period because all of the symptoms cause you to not have your normal personality. So you're basically disassociating yourself from who you truly are at your core. And this is basically feeling like you don't have control over your personality. You don't have control over your body because everything that's very familiar to you is no longer present. And so you're feeling very detached from who you are at the core. This is when you've gotten to that point where you're like, I know I'm a happy person. I know that I'm a logical person. Whatever person that you think that you are, you all of a sudden feel like you're in this completely different body. You're in this completely different mind. And you're just trying to navigate what's going on. So if you identify with any of those things, that means on a monthly basis, you do have disassociation, but that's not necessarily a negative thing. This is just a coping mechanism that you're going through in order to cope with the trauma that is involved with PMDD. So what I'm going to be telling you today are ways that disassociating is actually beneficial to you. And if you want to use these techniques, I'm going to give you ways on how to maximize with disassociating so that you can do less damage with your PMDD partner, less damage to your relationship, specifically when PMDD rage gets there. And you're just going to be able to use this as a tool. So a lot of times when things happen to us in PMDD, we always think it's negative, but there's some things that our body and our mind subconsciously do that are actually working in our favor because they're trying to help us to survive. So we all know that when we get into PMDD rage and we have anxiety and we have all of these things, that our high emotions are leading to poor decisions. We make bad decisions when our emotions are really, really high. Because they're irrational, because we're just acting off of how we're feeling in the moment. And we know that those emotional reactions are very temporary. So we may act a certain way when our emotions are really high, but when they regulate, you're just like, oh my gosh, then you have all this regret and you have all this guilt. And the negative emotions are very, very uncomfortable in the moment. So when you decide to mute your PMDD symptoms, this is an effective way to approach life. You can actually go into PMDD and say, you know what, this is what I'm going to do every single day when I'm in PMDD. And I know that so you're acknowledging the emotions, the symptoms that you have, and you're making a conscious choice to mute them, to detach yourself from them. Emotional detachment. So this isn't the same thing. This is very key. This isn't the same thing as being emotionless. This is not about you not having emotions and you bottling things up. This is not that. Think of it as more of emotional control. I'm controlling the emotions that I have. If you look at marbles, and if you put marbles down, if you have a jar of marbles and you put the jar and you dump it out, all the marbles are going to go all over the place. So this is a way of having all the jar of marbles, you emptying it, and then you're gathering those marbles up and say, okay, I want these to go here. I want these to go here. You're just basically having more control over your emotions by choosing what you're going to mute and what you're going to magnify. So, for example, it's great if you're very attentive to your partner, if you're very loving towards your partner, but if you become obsessed with them and you become in a way that you can't manage the rest of your life because you're so obsessed with them, because you're so obsessed with getting that reassurance from them, like, I want to know that they love me. I want to know, like, it's one thing to text or talk to your partner and say, I love you. That's one thing. But if you're constantly needing that assurance, I love you, I love you, I love you, and you're never really believing them, you're never really allowing your cup to be filled with the truth, like it's never good enough for you, then that's when it becomes unhealthy. So what we want to do is we want to encourage you to express your emotions with your partner, but we don't want to make it obsessive to the point that it's overdoing it in a way that's making your partner feel too much pressure. and feeling like there's nothing that they can possibly do to prove that they love you. Like, have you ever told your partner, I love you? They said, I love you back, but you still feel like you need it more, right? You still feel like, okay, that's not good enough. Now I want them to show me, or I constantly want them to prove themselves to me because I constantly feel like they're going to leave me, or I feel like I'm not good enough. So I constantly need that reassurance. Well, that puts so much pressure on your PMDD partner, and it maybe puts them in a situation where they feel like, I can't handle this. So too much emotions can blind us of our flaws. It can create obstacles, and it can cause us to make very, very poor decisions that really, really damage our intimate relationships. So emotional detachment has several advantages. So I want you to understand how muting your PMDD symptoms, muting all of those negative emotions, can actually be beneficial. And it can cause you, the first thing is, it can cause you to make wise decisions. So being in a highly emotional state greatly compromises your ability to make good decisions. Wise decisions are based on logics and values and your goals and your guts and feelings that are true. When you're in a high state of emotion, when that PMDD rage is there, you're not able to make those good decisions. This is where it comes out when you want to break up with your partner. And it's like, when you think back to all of the reasons that you wanted to break up with your partner, if you think about them when you're not in PMDD, you're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that I wanted to break up with my partner over this. So when you're able to mute, when you feel that PMDD rage come in, whatever your thing is that allows you to mute your PMDD symptoms, like I told you, my morning routine, if you go do that, then it'll cause you to be less reactive when those high emotions get there. It'll cause you to go to a place like, I know when I have to, what I call it, putting myself in timeout. Like, I know when I need to put myself on timeout if I'm being completely irrational, if I'm constantly questioning my partner, where everything that I'm saying to him, nothing is good enough. I know that I need to get into that place of being like, you know what? I need to put myself on timeout. This is a form of disassociation because I'm disassociating myself with those thoughts and emotions that are making me feel really, really anxious. And I'm going to that state of, okay, I'm going to not overthink this. I'm going to calm everything down and just get into a place of, all right, I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to go do something else. And my go doing something else is normally when I do my morning routine, or if I exercise. And if it's the middle of the day, because I don't exercise in the afternoon, or not, well, I don't exercise in the evenings. So if I'm in that place where I need to disassociate and the morning has gone, I'll just go for a walk. I'll go for a walk outside. Luckily, I have a dog who likes to walk 24/7. So I'll just go do that. I'll go do something where I'm moving my body and I can put my headphones on. I would say those are my two core things. So if you really think about your two core things, it may be eating and watching Netflix. I'm not here to judge. I'm just saying whatever it is that you know that completely disconnects you from how you're feeling when you're in PMDD. Sometimes for me, it's dancing. It's putting music on, blasting music, and just dancing around. That's my way of disassociating. I'm not connecting with the me that has all of these PMDD symptoms. I'm choosing to connect with feeling free, feeling more into my body, feeling happy. And that's a break for me. I'm not saying I'm going to be like that the whole day, but it's giving me a break from all of the overwhelming PMDD symptoms that I have. And what that does is, number two, less stress. So when I'm able to give myself a break from all of those negative emotions and intrusive thoughts and depression, anxiety, when I give myself that break, then my stress hormones are regulated and cortisol is released, and I'm just more relaxed. And when I'm more relaxed, when I come to my partner and have conversations, that means they're loving conversations, they're helpful conversations. This is when my partner was like, oh yeah, I really connected with you when we talked about this. But the problem is, if I'm in that anxious state and I'm trying to connect with my partner, they're not connecting with me because they're not in that anxious state, right? So when I'm choosing to disassociate, I'm releasing myself from all of that stress that I may feel. I'm even able to handle it more when I go back to it if I've had an actual break. So find a way that works for you, and then don't feel guilty about going into that space and then coming back. And then another thing is less PMDD rage. So it basically leads to less PMDD rage overall, because you say if your partner said something that emotionally triggered you, they said something that triggered you, instead of you going straight into that reactive mode, you go and disassociate. Have you ever had an argument or a conversation with your partner and they're saying all these things that would normally trigger you, and you're just not responding, like you're not reacting, and they're like, are you even listening to me? It seems like you're not even, like, you've been able to basically hear the things that would normally trigger you, and you're just not reacting to it because you're just not there. Sometimes you not being there is actually a good thing, because you're not constantly going back and giving them rebuttals and going below the belt with them. And what happens is, when your partner is being very combative about something and you're not responding to them in that same manner, you're not giving them that same energy, it dies out. So the things we don't recognize about negative energy is it's very temporary. It's there for a moment. And if you don't feed it, it's like a flame. It dies out. And then next thing you know, your partner's calm because you didn't fan their flame. You didn't ever get angry. Your PMDD symptoms didn't get magnified. I know for me, the first thing for me is my shoulders get really tense and I feel like, oh my gosh, like I get these knots in my traps and like around my neck when I can feel myself tensing up. But if I never allow myself to get to that point, then I don't actually get those symptoms. So this is, in essence, I'm muting my symptoms by disassociating, detaching from that. And so the next thing is, number 4 is you care less about what others think about you. If you are muting your PMDD symptoms, if you're emotionally detaching, what others think about you is their problem. You're not so concerned with if your partner thinks that you're this or if your partner thinks that you're that. You're giving yourself an opportunity to think about, what do you think? Right? Like, how many times have you been in a situation with your partner and you're constantly thinking about what they're thinking, what they think you should do, what they, and you never really checked in with yourself? Or you know what it is that you want to do, but you're not able to make that decision until your partner reassures you that they agree with you. When you emotionally detach for that moment, you're able to make decisions based off of what you want. And then when you come back to them, you're able to clearly articulate it because you're able to say, I made this decision because I wanted this, this, and this. But if you're making a decision primarily because it's what your partner wants, then that means you're neglecting your feelings, what you want, and that's ultimately going to lead to resentment. So a lot of times I had to do this for my upcoming move. I had to think about, being that me and my partner are going to live apart in California, we're both going to be in California, but we're going to be in different locations. And he loves houses and I'm really good with houses, townhouses, apartments. Like, I don't have a preference. And I was constantly catering to, I got to get the house, because I was constantly thinking about what it is that he wanted, that I was putting what I wanted on the back burner, but I was going to be the one that was going to have to live there full time. So when I allowed myself to disassociate and be like, you know what, I can make a decision for the kind of place that I want to live at, and I can, it's going to be okay. Like, I don't have to base it off of only what he wants and then put my stuff on the back burner. Like, I can communicate to him, I made this decision because I want to live here, and then list out my reasons. But if I'm so emotionally detached to his reason, then I'm not really articulating my reason. Do you understand? Like, sometimes it can't be both. It can't be you're giving your partner everything that they want, but then you're also putting in what you want. It's one person has to win sometimes in a compromise. And then there's that communication aspect after it. So when my partner says what he was going to do as far as his living arrangements, I could have had a different understanding. But when you calmly communicate, this is why, and the logic behind it, your partner's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But if you're angry about it, then obviously it's going to cause a problem. So the next thing is you feel less fear. When you're emotionally detached for that moment, you're not in that reactive mode to where you're constantly, okay, I got to react to this. I got to react to this, to every single trigger, every single trigger, every single trigger. That's not a thing. So I want you to know that these decisions to mute your PMDD symptoms, these brief moments that you're taking for yourself throughout your day, they're not something to avoid. They're actually something that are beneficial for you. And I want to give you all a gift. I actually developed four strategies that if this is something that you want to do, if this is something that resonates with you, if this is something that you know that it is that you need, I'm going to be creating an ebook on this that I will give to you that you can order. All you have to do is DM me on Instagram at In Love with PMDD, and I'll be able to provide this to you because I really think this is so beneficial. It's going to take so much pressure off of you, and it's going to give you the break that I know that you need when you're in PMDD so that you don't do further damage or any damage to your relationship while you're in PMDD. You got this. I hope these PMDD Trauma Transformational Tools help you and your PMDD partner. If you found this podcast helpful, please comment and leave me a 5-star review to help other PMDD partners find our show with these tools and support. This is how you can help support the show and other PMDD partners. For everything that as PMDD partners go through, we should not have to do this alone. So until next time, remember that we can have the relationship that we desire and deserve while we have PMDD. We got this.